Are you guys ready? You good? Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the City Planning Commission December 14th meeting. I am Rob Martin, the Service Safety Director. Mayor Myrn was double booked today and has to be somewhere else, so I will be chairing this meeting. So, good morning, and Jacob, when you're ready for roll call.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. DeArmond.
Here.
Ms. Schroeder.
Here.
Mr. Klinger.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And anyone that is going to talk today in the audience for or against any of the agenda items, please stand so we can be sworn in.
All right. Do you affirm that all the testimony and evidence you're about to give in a case before this commission this day will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and will conform to the facts of the case and the rules of this commission? This you affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury. Please say I do.
Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Next, the approval of the November 9th Planning Commission meeting minutes.
I have one thing. The item 1, Jacob, I assume you caught that it talks about the 3-story apartment building. And so that, do we have will you issue a revised minutes or what on that? It doesn't have any data. No, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Huh?
It's actually supposed to be a different
Yeah,
description.
the description is a different project.
So with, we good? Okay, so with that edit, anything else?
Want to move? Or
Oh, yeah.
Can I get a motion to approve
Motion to move with the amendment.
with the amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, same sign? Okay, thank you. Moving forward, there are no tabled items. We are going to, with the new items, if it's okay, our city engineer has to leave for another meeting, the commissioners' meeting at 9:30. So we're going to move to number 4, so we can have his comments on that. So, application number 4, application for site plan review, SP 292023, followed by Sesso. Is that pronouncing that, slaughtering that? Sesso for a new Sheetz gas station, convenience store, and car wash to be located at parcel number 020010155352 at the northeast corner of the intersection between County Road 220 and County Road 99. CPC staff comments.
Okay, so this is located in the northeast corner of the intersection of County Road 220 or North Main and County Road 99. The parcel is located in unzoned Allen Township. The neighboring parcels inside the city are Zone C2 General Commercial, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the area as regional commercial. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain. Currently, the site is vacant, and the applicant has proposed to construct a gas station, convenience store, and car wash at the location. The gas station would feature 12 pumps, and the convenience store / restaurant would be 6,139 square feet in size. The convenience store would have a made-to-order section that would feature a drive-through. A 1,649 square foot car wash facility would be located on the east side of the property. While it's not located in the city of Findlay, staff did review the site based off of C2 general commercial zoning standards. Plan met the code for the parking and the drive-through stacking and landscaping. The applicant did request a pylon sign, but on the plans they did show a monument sign on the landscaping sheet. Staff would recommend a ground-mounted sign for the site. Staff recommends approval of application for site plan review SP -29-2023 filed by Sheetz or filed by Sesso for a new Sheetz gas station, convenience store, and car wash to be located at the parcel number 02000101532 at the northeast corner of the intersection between County Road 220 and County Road 99.
Engineering?
The way it stands right now, this is outside city limits. So the curb cuts on this are going to be through the county engineer. They have access management requirements with that. So the curb cuts on County Road 99, the way it stands right now, probably only one of them would be allowed, and I'm guessing it's going to be that east one. If this is ultimately annexed into the city due to a hard water policy or something like that, if that is decided to go through that, then those drives will be through the city's jurisdiction. So we'll be able to approve those if you guys are good with those curb cuts. That west one right there on County Road 99, depending on how much traffic is actually going in and out of that, it shouldn't be a problem. But my biggest concern with it is where it's in location with that turn lane. Because if you have someone that's going to be turning left out of that, now they're cutting across the turn lane, all that kind of stuff. So that is one kind of I'm worried about. Or I don't want to say worried about, but would be concerned about kind of with the location with where Main Street is on that. Really on the utility.
Just to
Sorry.
clarify, when you're coming south out of the western, this one, and then pulling in and trying to make a left-hand turn south on the main, is that your concern?
If you were making onto if you were coming out of that drive,
And going
I have a
left.
point, but
Making it east.
there we go.
Direction.
If you're coming out of this drive and you're heading east,
Eastbound, okay.
got the shakes, you're going to be cutting across this turn lane to get over to here. I know you have this island here, but still, this is kind of made for stacking. This is a weird transition point for that drive.
So that's
Right.
not a raised island, that's just
No, it's just a
striping.
painted. It's
striping.
a painted island. So you could. People are going to use that as kind of a refugee island if you want to see for a vehicle. But this is a point where vehicles that are coming westbound on 99. This is where they're making decision point to go which lane. It causes it's a greater conflict point because you have these cars looking to go into those lanes and they're not paying attention to the driveway, and it's just there could be a conflict point on that. So if the two drives are one in there, we might have to work on do we want that a right in, right out? Do we want that relocated? Do we want to make these relocate them so it's one drive instead of two of maybe a little bit bigger and make it one drive, but just kind of something to look at on that. But if it stays outside city limits, I know this one will not be allowed by county engineer. Going with the water service, so they do show a new water service coming off of that going into the building. It's a 2-inch line. Don't have any problem with that. We'll work with the on-site contractor, whoever is in that, to find a final location of the meter pit. Where they have it shown now, I'm good with it, but once you get out there and kind of get things moved around, we're easy to work with on where we want to figure that out. The only thing with that as well, there is a lot of landscaping that is on there. So if there's going to be irrigation, that will be a separate tap for that. But once we get into that, we can work that out with the construction manager, or I guess the consultant on this as well. Sanitary service, that's a simple, just coming off of that, coming off the existing sanitary line on 220. Looking at the plans, there is a grease interceptor, so that will be evaluated and approved through the health department. And then, like I said, this, as it stands right now, this is outside the city limits, so they don't have to follow our stormwater detention plans or our requirements on that. But if it is annexed, then they're going to have to follow our detention standards on that. I know the applicant has been communication back and forth with myself and Jacob, and we sent them those requirements. So I guess it kind of determines if it stays inside or outside, if that is fully enforced. Same way with MS4 right now, it does not fall within our standards or within our jurisdiction, but if it does, then that will kick that in. So there's some, I guess, determination on that ultimately, but right now, the way it stands before construction, I'll just need the water service and the sanitary service tap permits for that. If it does go to an annexation to come into the city limits, then we can work with the consultant on what we would need for permits, and we can work with them on the ultimate driveway locations.
Okay, thank you. Fire prevention had no comment. Does anyone here want to speak for or against this? Just introduce yourself and make sure the mic's on, please.
Hello?
There you go.
Great,
Good.
thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kareem Amer. I'm with Skilkin Gold Development out of Columbus, Ohio. That's 4270 Morse Road, Columbus, Ohio. With me today, I have Josh Long. If you want to...
Yeah, Josh Long, CSO, civil engineer on the job, 2800 Corporate Exchange Drive, Columbus, Ohio.
We also have with us today Bill Weber from Sheets as well here, and they're both here to answer questions in their respective areas. We're not going to, talk, too much on it. They did a great job presenting the project, and they've been a pleasure to work with, so we appreciate all their help there. At Skilkin Gold, we've been the exclusive developer for Sheets all throughout Ohio, and now we're going into Michigan with Sheets. It's been a wonderful partnership. I've had the opportunity to develop 16 Sheets as a project manager, but this one might be the most prolific one, and that would be because of the distribution center planned in the area as well. It'll be the only Sheets distribution center in all of Ohio, and it aims to employ 300 individuals. So because of that, this will be, very much a hallmark location for Sheets, and they're very much excited to double down in the area and have a front-facing component to that large employment base that they're bringing there. As you see here, this is what we're considering more or less our prototypical building, which is a beautiful four-sided architecture. They really do a good job with the materials here. For those of you who've been to Sheets, it's really top of the line, inside and out. A couple things I'll also mention about the site. Given the sort of dynamic between the annexation possibility and the township and the county involvement, we did try as best as possible to meet the regulations of Findlay from a landscaping and lighting perspective. We're trying to, from a signage perspective, and I'm sure we'll discuss that as well. But with our submission, we wanted to make sure we're trying to be as compliant as possible, as if we were in the city of Findlay already. We mentioned the access points for traffic. You're completely right. That will be subject to further analysis from likely a TIS with the county. So that is one component that's subject to change. We are showing those 3 access points. It is very highly likely the one, sort of a subject today, will either be eliminated or restricted. That is highly likely. So that is, again, subject to change and will be taken through the right analysis and process to determine that. Besides from that, this is part of a much larger parcel. There's no plans for the remainder of the parcel right now. And if there were, it would have to go through the normal channels and processes. So, you guys would have the reviewability before anything is done there. So just wanted to reiterate that there's no secret plan with the remainder, at least that I know of. So other than that, we're here to answer any of your questions, and again, very much excited to have a strong presence in the area.
Thank you.
Okay, where do we start? I also realize that this, it's red.
Did you find it?
Realize that this exit, oh, there we go. That one would be a problem.
Right.
And I don't know if you've looked at this, but in my vision of it, I'm a retired architect, so I look at these layouts and see how they can also be modified. If this project was just flipped, then you would have your access in this general area, and that would lead right into the gas pumps, which then would give you plenty of room for maneuvering cars around to the car wash and everything. I know it kind of maybe changes your vision of it a little bit, but I think it would really function better trying to get one access on 99.
Okay, that's a great point. We can very much take a look at it. You know, there's a whole array of real estate individuals and store design individuals. There's a science behind the circulation, as you pointed out. It's a little bit beyond our determination, but it's something we can definitely take a look at.
Right.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. And I really don't think that you're going to detract from your overall appearance. You've got enough structure out there. You've got enough color and everything in the buildings that and you're right there at the corner. You're still going to have a very visible and desirable recognition of your business there.
Sure.
With that. Jeremy, back to you on the detention, and I see on our one plan it does call for a dry or a proposed dry basin. Right now, they're draining what to a sewer line that's out in the street for the storm sewer.
Yeah.
And there's at that point there's no restrictions or anything on it from the standpoint of reducing flow or anything. But that,
Well, like I said, I sent them our requirements on that.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to review what they sent for the final submission on the detention calculations. But as part of that, yeah, we do have restrictions on how much flow can go through there. It's got to go through at a certain rate. So with their calculations, that will show what that rate is, what the size of the pipe is, and all that kind of stuff. So, it's not going to be a 12-inch pipe running full bore into that storm. So it's going to be a meter.
so there could potentially be places where the catch basins are that might be a surface retainage in those areas, possibly.
No, it's most of the time this is with that detention, or if it's an underground detention or something like that, that's where you hold that water and then it's metered out through a certain size orifice in
Right.
in an outlet structure.
Right.
So you won't be seeing with these type of sites, you won't be seeing, like surface water or surfaces being your detention as on a like a parking lot or around a catch basin. It's going
Yeah.
to be a detained system.
Okay. Well, keeping in mind that if this is possibly annexed someday, it certainly would be much more feasible to do that detention now rather than go back at a later date and have to redo all the underground storm sewer to get to that detention area, wouldn't it?
Right, and I think they're working on that. We gave them, this was once we got the comments in and stuff all like that. Their work, I believe, I don't want to speak for them, but I believe they're looking into that. So, I'm fine with once we get past this reviewing those detention calculations, make sure they work to our standards, even if they don't come in. So then, if it is ultimately annexed in, then they're already covered. But yeah, I would agree if it's not annexed now and it's going to be later or it's going to be desired, while you're out there digging, do that kind of stuff now. I know it adds cost, but it's, 10 years from now, it's going to cost even more. So,
Yeah.
but I believe we're working back and forth on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You good?
I might have something else
Okay,
for you.
well,
Go ahead.
I'm just, man, I'm just surprised where you're approving this with no conditions, so maybe we don't have conditions since it's outside the city, but we certainly should have recommendations, right?
So,
I agree with Dan's recommendation. I think we should have the stormwater retention. I like flipping it and go one access point. I don't know why we wouldn't recommend at the very least, but in putting
So-
conditions on it.
yeah, it's been a tricky situation. So,
Are we allowed to put conditions since it's not?
so we
Yes.
are technically, they are here because they want to use city water and sewer. And so our review is really limited to that.
All right, fair enough. Then let's at least make recommendations.
Okay, so
All right.
there's a yin and a yang here. You can allow those outside the city to use the water. You can also tell them, come back to us with a site plan once you're in the city. That's the more, that's the, if the city wants to have control of the site, that's the best way to do it. If they want the site to meet our drainage calculations, if they want the site to meet our signage calculations, then the city should give utilities once it's in the city.
I think that's the rigid, hard stance.
Correct. I agree.
However, that's not, and I know you were going to lead to this, but that's
Yes.
not the culture of the administration or the city when it comes to partnering with good business. We're excited about sheets coming, the distribution. We're excited about this coming into our community as well. But as we've all kind of gently discussed, this area, non-committally, it's not annexed, but I think it would be short-sighted to not follow our rules of and zoning processes using our utilities when we do have a hard water policy in effect. I think it would be short-sighted not to go down the road to follow our zoning processes and rules with the likelihood of this becoming annexed at some point. Because the reality of it is, if you don't follow it now, it's going to be, to Jeremy's point, much more expensive in the long run.
Sure.
So,
Well-
to his yin and yang, we'd like to create a balance of you having your choice to annex, but we want you to be compliant, because that is, I mean, it's a stone's throw away from,
And another tricky point is, they don't do the drainage to our standards, they're annexed. We can't make them meet our standards once it's already built.
Right.
right.
So to your point, we have tried to walk kind of a friendly line. We had a couple projects where we put conditions on a project being annexed, and the county had some words about that.
Okay.
So, no, it's very tricky. I don't think they want their projects slowed down.
No, and I don't want to. I
8
don't want to
months.
slow it down. And I agree with Rob. I think
It's-
I don't want to. I'm not here to draw a hard line either. That's why I'm saying. How do
Yeah.
you feel about recommendations versus conditions? I mean,
Yes, recommendations.
okay. Are you on board with recommendations?
Yeah, and I am, and I think that's, hopefully you've experienced this already. Our team is very complimentary and very willing to work with you and
Absolutely.
try to have dialogue versus, nope, this is how it is, it's how it's written. They want to work with you. So hopefully if we continue that dialogue and conversation, we can find something that makes sense for what we want, for the safety and the impact of storm and everything else, traffic flows, et cetera, that will work for you and your development.
Right. Yeah, and we not only appreciate that, we want to be compliant with the city of Findlay, the codes. We can meet those drainage calculations. We're certain of it. We have in dozens of other municipalities. So we're not trying to bypass by any means. We know we can meet those regulations, and we will. But again, as sort of being discussed on a fundamental level, you know, the entitlement process, the sort of conventional, rigid way, you know, it drags us out to, you know, not being built by, you know, end of 2025, maybe in 2026. So in order for us to have a presence sooner than later, having that sort of concurrency run, very much appreciated. But all that to say, we're happy to comply with those items.
We appreciate that.
And so, and I agree that that's been their stance all along, and full faith that they're being good faith actors. So let's talk recommendations, conditions.
Okay.
You can put a condition to, you know, that they need to start the annexation process. That can be a condition.
A recommendation or a condition?
That can be a condition.
Because they're contiguous, right?
Yes, that can be a condition.
They are contiguous.
And that is a condition we put on other projects.
Are we forcing them to annex them? Is that kind of how it?
That's your decision. Yes, you can force them to annex, but so the scenario I see is you decide if you want to put a condition to annex. And then we can have a few recommendations, and then they can leave here today with the approvals that they need from the city of Findlay to start their project. They'll have to work with Wood County, they'll have to work with the county engineer on access and things like that. So the board needs to decide if they want to put a condition to start the annexation process.
I want to clarify that point before we move on.
Yeah.
It's starting the process that they don't have to be annexed before they can turn dirt.
That's correct.
Because I don't want to hold your production up and your development. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Appreciate that.
So the board can decide if they want to put that condition on. And then recommendations, so we did review it against the city code. Landscaping, excellent. Architecture, excellent, meets our standards. Drainage is incomplete, but you've heard their intentions.
Lighting?
Lighting, we've received the photometric plans. Jake confirms that they meet our standards if they were in the city. So the two recommendations that I see are recommend that they meet the city drainage standards and recommend that they meet the city signage standards. So,
Well, wait a minute, no, there's more than that. There's eliminate one of the entrances from 99 and consider flip, the mirror image like Dan was suggesting would help.
I think you could make a recommendation on that, but I mean, that's the county's jurisdiction.
It's just a recommendation.
Okay. I'm just,
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
Should we see a revised?
But if it were in the city, wouldn't we put that restriction? Probably, right?
yeah,
So it's just a recommendation. They don't have to follow our recommendations, right? I mean, it's just a recommendation.
understand.
All right.
So let's talk, so they submitted, the first submittal was a more traditional high-rise kind of highway sign. And then they came back, and this is a nice sign. And I understand their kind of desire to have a little height to their sign. They're kind of the furthest gas station away from the highway. There's other gas stations in between them and the highway. With that said, you're all very aware of our zoning code update, which will have its last reading on December 19th. And in that code, it essentially, it removed pylon signs as permitted signs. The last two,
Is this a pylon sign? What is this sign?
By definition, would this fall into the pylon sign
yes,
because of the height?
the height. yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the height is, whether it's on a pole or a very nice brick structure like that, its height makes it a pylon sign by our definition.
And what is the limit for a pylon? What's the 10 feet or?
For a monument is 8 feet.
Monument
feet.
is 8.
Okay.
So our new code goes, it's 8 feet from the crown of the road,
And how tall is this?
25 feet.
Oh, okay.
The last two gas stations, which were within the city, Turkey
Turkey Hill.
Hill and Casey's, both provided monument signs, the 8-foot monument sign. So, this could be a recommendation. But, if you want them to have a pylon sign, I would make that a recommendation, not a condition.
And if I may just add a
Yeah.
slight bit of context, we took a really hard look at this in our efforts to comply top to bottom, with all the code that applies here. And really what we saw is all the competitors in between us and the interchange have signs of this nature and size, and debatably not as nice materials. But in order for Sheets, to compete and get some of that visibility from the interchange, they weren't able to go any lower on the signage, as much as we very much wanted to. So it's more of a nature of sort of matching the gas stations, right down the street from us, rather than being, the biggest, brightest, and tallest.
Okay.
So a traditional, traditionally, they could request a variance. in this case, they can't request a variance. They're not in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
Eric, do you have something to add?
Yeah, so a couple questions. I'm the zoning administrator with the city, Eric Atkins. So a couple questions that I have is, one thing we see through out the years is the modification of branding. How often does that happen with sheets that say like the sheets thing will get changed?
The only thing that'll change is the price of the gasoline.
Okay, so with our new code coming in, that's going to be approved next Tuesday, hopefully. There is a clause in there that's going to eliminate all pylons out of the city if there's any modifications to that sign after 2029, I believe is the year. So let's say branding ends up changing in 2030 on this sign, if they do allow you to build this this height limit, and the face of the sheets on the top needs to get changed, at that point it would have to come down to a monument sign.
Okay.
Without, or you could seek a variance at that time, and that's how everybody on that stretch is going to be treated as well.
Those other gas stations would be
Yeah.
under the same?
Yeah. So they would be told they need to bring it down if they're going to make any modifications, including a face change. But they would have that right by law to seek a variance for it, and then that's in the hands of a quasi judicial board to make a
It
ruling.
would be at that point an existing non-conformity
Right.
is why.
Yep.
Okay. That's fair.
It's 10 years after the adoption, so it would
Okay.
be 2034. Doesn't.
Okay. All right. Should we see a revised site plan showing the proposed entrances? And since everybody is here saying that it doesn't sound as though we're going to have two opportunities on 99, shouldn't that come back to the city planning before we give approval? And what I'm leaning to is that if we table this project, they could come back and actually look at how it might work if it's flipped, and bring maybe two proposals back. One flipped with the entrance and so forth, and the other, with the modification to the entrances.
I'll start, and then you can jump in if you need to. I go back to the reality of this not being currently in the city, and it's a recommendation. Now, if this was in the city, I think that we might have more of a leg to stand on to say, come back. But it's ultimately utilities is what we're here to discuss, with recommendations in the intent or hope that it becomes annexed in the process. So currently, it's not going to have two, there's no way with the access management of the county, they're going to allow two access points on 99. It's just
Without a variance.
without a variance. And I don't anticipate that, not to speak for the process, but pretty consistent. So I don't want to hold this up. And of course, I'm just pointing this out that, again, we're here to focus on utilities with recommendations in the attempt or hope that it becomes annexed to be compliant because of where its location is in anticipation. But I don't know. I'm willing.
I agree. Dan, in a perfect world, it would be nice to take another shot at it, but I agree with Rob that it's really, in this case, I think we just list out our recommendations. Yes, Mr. Atkins.
So the other thing, if you guys do decide to put an annexation stipulation on it to start the annexation process tomorrow or whatever, Wood County will contact my office and ask about permits. In this case, there won't be any permits, but a recommendation could be for them to contact me to review your recommendations prior to saying, yeah, Wood County, go ahead and start the approval process. I think that we may be able to do something like that.
Tell me that. Say that again. Your recommendation is to.
So
what?
if your condition is annexation to start,
Well, I don't think I don't know. I'm not feeling like we're going to condition that. I think we're going to recommend that.
okay, either way,
Okay.
recommendation or condition.
Okay.
Wood County is going to want permit numbers from us, knowing that they're going to get our water,
Okay.
and at that point, the recommendation could say, zoning office reviews your recommendations to tell Wood County to move forward. I don't know if is that a possibility, Matt?
I don't understand.
I don't either.
They're going to want a permit number from the city because they're going to have our water. That's been their practice. They've always called me up and
A
said,
permit
"Hey,"
number to do what? The permit
to
for-
move forward with their review. So they're
Traditionally, they don't want to review something that has not been approved by the city. I think their approval is this meeting.
So they want like a building permit number from us?
yeah,
well, building permit.
the zoning permit number.
So
Zoning.
to do that, what recommendation or consideration do we need?
I'm saying that I can, whatever recommendations you guys have.
Well, this is where the mayor did a really good job writing this down.
Right.
And she has to
We're
repeat it, so
struggling.
now I'm like, all right, I gotta really pay attention to what I have
What
to
I-
write down.
Whatever recommendations you guys have.
Well, I'll tell you, what, let's do our recommendations and then you can chime in and
Okay.
add. Oh, how about that? So how do you guys feel about, can we start itemizing our recommendations?
Sure.
Okay, so number one would be recommending that start the annexation, right?
Right.
Initiate the annexation.
Okay.
All right, Dan, you want to tell us what's your recommendation on the site layout,
Well,
and mirroring?
The second one, I think, would be we would make a recommendation that they proceed with a detention or storm drainage management.
Okay.
And looking at the sign here, I'm not making this
Now,
a
are you on
recommendation.
number 2 still, or number 3?
Well,
One at a time.
To the sign.
All right,
Number
so
3, I guess,
for
yeah.
Claire, before we move
Okay.
on to 3, I just want to make sure the language I'm putting down is acceptable. Storm detention management, proceed with storm detention management, is that acceptable?
Per city
Okay.
standards.
I would say a recommendation would to meet the
City
drainage standards of the city of Findlay.
yeah. Just a comment to go back to the sign here, which I don't think needs to be one of these recommendations necessarily, but my feeling is that due to the fact of what we talked about down the street, as far as the other businesses having pylon signs, I understand that they want to have some visibility, and if they would also look at flipping the site, I could go along with the pylon sign. You also recognizing 10 years from now, if you do something else, then it's going to be a cost factor to do a different signage.
Correct. It's
All right.
tasteful.
But our recommendation is signs should be in compliant with the new, they don't have to follow our recommendations, and I'm okay if they don't, honestly, but I think our recommendation officially should be to follow the revised zoning code, or is it revised
Signage.
signage, right?
Would it be proposed or revised?
Oh, yeah, proposed.
Because
Yeah,
technically it's not-
proposed. Yeah, proposed, right. Okay. Dan, you want to talk about your mirroring? What's your recommendation on that?
Well, I'd certainly recommend that they look at mirroring the site, yes, for to make it the best access to the gas station from 99. And I realize it creates more engineering and so forth, but in the long run, let's look at it, what's going to be the best solution.
I didn't catch that one.
Consider mirror image of site layout.
Yeah.
Or maybe just modifications to site layout.
Consider-
There may be, because my thought here, let's throw my 2 cents in. Is
Modifications
there
to the
may be a
site.
way to reduce these down to one drive? And maybe that drive ends up being here, so we're not interfering with the turn lanes. In which case, I don't know if you have to.
All right.
I don't want to speak
They
for
might
the,
modify, but
I don't want to speak for the county. I do know that the lining up of the driveways is an important factor
Yeah.
in the access management
So we're
regulations.
talking about consider,
Modifications
consider-
to the site layout.
and then do you want to, and eliminate one access point.
199.
That's our recommendation, to eliminate one access point as part of that site layout.
Yeah,
So-
I think so.
Yeah, so we're going to.
And eliminate,
I mean, if you don't mind me suggesting, we make it sort of a broader context of, taking a look at that access based on traffic analysis via counts and what have you, because, it could support a right in, right out even, so that no one's turning left out or in.
I agree with you because I think you're going to have to analyze the traffic patterns, not only
Right.
the time of the day of the week, because that is a very congested area. So having that analysis to actually define what would make the most sense, if you
Right.
have to and it's right in, right out, or you eliminate and you widen it so it's one. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I'm
Neither
not
are
going to.
we're not traffic engineers either, so I would hate to.
I would like to say that the right in, right out in our, I would say the city's experience, but definitely my experience is they don't really function the way you'd like them to. People will still turn left,
So I-
and they wait even longer
That's
to
fair.
try and turn left in there.
So I would say, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I'll try to be one. And again, I just want to really reiterate, this time, this is not our jurisdiction,
Yeah.
just having
Sure.
discussions. But I think the dive-in lane that Speedway utilized on Western Avenue, the Trenton Avenue Speedway, that really, I've never seen anyone use that incorrectly because there is just no way to use it incorrectly.
Yeah, that one's definitely better than
It's a good point.
most.
So that could be an option.
All right, put all that in words.
Well, I don't, I have it. The last point, do we say consideration of access points on 99 or eliminate? Again, it's a
Or
recommendation.
do we
but I
want to
don't-
recommend them do a traffic impact study to investigate the elimination of?
Okay.
They'll already be doing one.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
way out of our.
Okay. All right.
That's why I'm writing this down. It's just a big recommendation. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I have 4 points. Start the annexation process, meet storm detention standards of the city, follow the proposed signage standards, and then consider modifications of site layout, and conduct a
No,
Right, just
we're dropping the traffic study.
traffic study.
No traffic.
No traffic, okay.
No.
Just consider modifications of site
yeah,
layout.
and that includes.
I think
access,
that's
including-
clean.
Yeah, I mean, including access points, site layout, including access points.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a comment for the owner, I said, I have seen times when the traffic has backed up all the way back here, not necessarily to the railroad tracks or anything, but it does stack up pretty deep at times too.
Okay.
And that will be included in all our analysis. We send out drones to take counts and videos. It's very thorough.
your
It'll all be considered.
Well, all right, so can I officially read this then? Any other discussion?
I do have further discussion, but if you want to nail down those points, that's fine.
So the recommendation is staff recommends approval of the application for site plan review, SP 292023, filed by Sheets for a new gas station located at parcel number 020010153552 at the northeast corner of the intersection between County Road 220 and County Road 99, with the recommendations of start the annexation process, meet the storm detention standards of the city, follow the proposed signage standards, and consider modifications to the site layout, including access points.
I'll second.
So if you, just for our knowledge, what does procedure look like from here? These are recommendations, say the signage is something, it's really hard for the real estate folks to get off of, and we're not able to meet a recommendation, how does that affect process for us? What?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, it's a recommendation, it's not a condition,
Okay.
and you've been given permission to use city water,
Okay.
sewer, and we're out of the process at that point.
Okay. Understood.
I would encourage, though, communication with the engineering department as you work through this,
Absolutely.
especially, there would be because of the utility connections and so forth, but again, make sure that the engineering department is lockstep with you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, been such a great conversation. I want to expand it. But, I think a conversation should be had real quick. Do you guys will you be owning the rest of the property?
Yes, Sheets will. Yes.
So my thought is, okay, this gets constructed. Step 2, someone wants to come here, depending on who owns the road and whose jurisdiction it is. There could be some issues. That new owner then wants a curb cut right here or right here. Is this adequate to serve the rest of the site in the future as a shared access?
It will depend on that use.
Okay.
Of who would want to go there and how much generation. Yeah, I would hate to point to the traffic engineers again. We've done cross access in the past, and that's something, Sheets will determine if that's okay with them. But again, we've done it in the past and we can certainly look into it. Yes.
So my thoughts are, it would probably be beneficial in the future for your future site development if you put some thought into potential access and how this will all operate, because there is the possibility that you don't get another, I don't know what this length is, but from a traffic standpoint and from the city standpoint, we don't want to keep putting curb cuts on 99, and while you're building this, planning ahead for this potentially being a shared access 1 year from now or 5 years from now, I think would be pretty important.
I think that's good forward thinking.
A question on the recommendation of annexation too. Is that for would that be the entire property or just the entire property?
And unless it's split, and it's not split. It's
Oh,
one-
okay.
It's a
one
whole parcel unless
It's
they
one
split it
parcel, yeah.
beforehand.
Okay.
Anything else?
That was my last.
It's a good point.
Yeah,
I think it was
it is.
important to bring that up.
Yeah.
Is that a recommendation we're adding or not really?
Maybe beneficial on how you
I don't
can
think so.
market that other property.
Absolutely.
I will say I did receive a few calls from the property owners there at the stub
Speak against.
of that neighborhood up there, and they were just curious kind of what the long-term plans were. And I think they were just looking for some indication on what it was, but they didn't have any immediate concerns.
So with that, anybody else in the audience for or against this that need to want the opportunity to speak? Okay. So I've already stated it. So
I
What-
seconded.
there's a second. Okay.
It's time to vote.
Jacob, when you're ready.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Diarmid,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks for the conversation.
Of
Appreciate
course.
it.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Whew, that was a good one. All right. So let's go back to the beginning. So item number 1, application for site plan review SP 282023, filed by Dan Majewski. I believe that's how you pronounce that. If I didn't, I apologize. For a parking lot expansion at 315 North Blanchard Street. CPC staff comments.
Sorry. So this request is located on the east side of North Blanchard Street, south of the intersection with Tiffin Avenue. It was rezoned to C1 local commercial earlier in the year. To the north and west, it's zoned C1 local commercial. To the south and east, it's zoned R3 small lot residential, and it is located within the 100-year floodplain. The site is currently vacant after a fire destroyed the home on the site in October of 2022. The applicant is proposing to extend the existing parking lot into the lot. The lot is only 37 feet by 45 feet, making it unlikely to be developed. The dimensions of the new parking lot would measure 37.71 feet by 44.80 feet and have 4 parking spaces. Parking lot has planters at the south end to ensure nobody enters or exits through the alley to the south. Parking lot does project into the setback. Parking lots are not permitted within 5 feet of the side lot line or 10 feet from any front or rear lot line. In this case, the applicant has proposed a 0-foot setback along North Blanchard Avenue and a 2-foot setback on the south side and a 3-foot setback on the east. While the applicant is proposing to have 0-foot setback along North Blanchard Street, there is a grass buffer. Matt has a picture, if he can pull it up here. That is roughly 3 feet in distance from the roadway. There's a utility pole that goes through that area too. The code does require dead-end parking to have a dead-end turn radius included, which has not been provided. Staff did not have any concerns, though, with the configuration as long as they received the appropriate variances from the BZA. So staff recommends approval. CPC recommend approval of application for site plan review SP-28-2023 filed by Dan Massachuski for a parking lot expansion at 315 North Blanchard Street with the following condition: receives those setback variances from the BZA.
Engineering had a couple just points here, but there was nothing that they needed additional, and there's no comment from fire prevention. So the recommendation is as Jacob just stated. So anyone want to talk for or against this? Conversation from the Planning Commission?
The applicant is not present.
The applicant is not present.
I noticed that the parking lot's already paved and done.
It looks great. So, no,
I don't have any issues with this.
I don't either.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
The one thing I had is that they talked about planters there as a barrier. There's no planters there.
Yeah.
There's very small rocks that, with a nice snow, nobody's going to see them. So I think we need to at least make sure that they get something substantial in there as a barrier to coming off the alley, primarily to protect that guy wire as much as anything.
Yeah,
The guide wire was my concern.
Yeah.
yeah. So you want to make that a condition, Dan?
Yes.
Go ahead. What is your?
Okay, one condition is to receive BZA variance. The other condition would be that they provide a substantial barrier between the alley and the parking lot to prevent any cross-traffic. It has to be more substantial than it is currently.
Even though the owner is not here, that was one of his discussions that he had. He doesn't want anybody crossing into his parking lot off the alleyway, so I'm sure that shouldn't be an issue with him, but
Good. Okay.
You know, even in planters, he could get some large rock, set in there or something.
Okay.
If we make it a condition, then you have to follow up on it, Eric.
correct.
Yeah, right.
In that case, let's make
There you
about
go.
10 of them. So give Eric.
Are we just moving to recommendations now?
Yeah.
I'll move to approve with those two recommendations, or those two conditions,
yeah.
excuse me.
I'll second.
Jacob, do you have them? Are you good? Okay. Any other discussion? All right, Jacob?
All right. Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
And Mr. Merton.
Aye. Okay, moving right along. Item number 2, well, technically 3, application for conditional use of CU 192023 filed by Cade and Lindsay Harris to establish a cat cafe at 125 East Crawford Street. CPC staff comments.
Okay, so this request is located on the south side of East Crawford Street. And actually, the next item is in the same building, just on the opposite half of it. So it is an area of C3 downtown commercial. It is located within the 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the parcel as downtown commercial. Parcel history: the site is currently vacant, but has served as office space in the past. Staff analysis: the applicant has requested to start a cat cafe in the space. The cat cafe operates just as a normal cafe would, but with the addition of having a few cats that are housed on site. The applicant has indicated that they intend to house the cats towards the rear of the space and would have somewhere between 5 and 7 cats at a time. And these cats would be adoptable as well. In the C3 downtown commercial district, there is a note that on vet clinics that notes that no kennels are permitted. while this is not a kennel per se, due to the hybrid nature of the business, staff advised that this needed to be reviewed as a conditional use. An appropriate condition for the business would be to limit the number of cats allowed. So our staff recommendation, we had recommended approval of application for conditional use CU-19-2023 filed by Cade and Lindsay Harris to establish a cat cafe at 125 East Crawford Street with the following condition. No more than 5 cats are allowed to be housed at the cafe. We did contact the health department, and they said they would need to review this as part of the process. So I don't know if we need to explicitly put that as a condition, but that's kind of some of the next steps in the process.
If it's part of the next stages of the process for them to get this approved as a use, then just let the process handle itself. I assume Wood County would have to inspect
Correct.
this or get the permits and bless this as well. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Just wanted to
No,
note
I
that in
appreciate that.
my comments, though.
Okay.
Why does the health department, what triggers the health department reviewing?
Food service.
The food. Ah.
It's a cafe.
So there's a, one I wanted to say that the 5 cats was just kind of a starting point. We will want to hear from the applicant to understand their business a little better and
Yep.
hear how many cats would be appropriate for them. We do have a letter that
Did you all
the
receive
owner
it?
of the next building over requests that I read. So I'd like to do that now to provide some context
So I just
also.
want to,
Yeah.
so we don't get too far out, so engineering and fire both had no comment. So
Okay.
just for the record, now we can have the discussion.
Okay, this is from the owner of the Kirk Building, comments for City Planning Commission meeting December 14th.
Which is that?
Dear Planning Commission, Kirk Building LLC is the owner of the property commonly known as the Kirk Building, located at 129 East Crawford Street, which abuts 2 properties that have submitted application for conditional use, items 2 and 3 on your agenda for the December 14th meeting. Kirk hereby submits comments and concerns regarding these applications and requests these comments be read into the meeting record. Application for conditional use CU 19-2023 RE 125 East Crawford Street. First, the commission should know that 125 East Crawford Street has no bathroom facility on the premises, and to the best of Kirk's knowledge, no running water or sewer connection. Although there is an agreement that purports to allow the current owner of 125 East Crawford the ability to use a bathroom located in the neighboring Kirk Building, the validity of that agreement is in dispute and subject to interpretations that, among other things, may not allow guests and visitors to 125 East Crawford Street to use the Kirk bathroom facilities. This is neither desirable nor practical for either of the intended uses which comprise items 2 and 3 of your agenda. Moreover, the Kirk Building is for sale, and there is no assurance that a new owner may wish to redevelop or repurpose the property. Will decide to maintain the bathroom facilities for the use of its neighbors, or that the current or similar building structures will continue to exist on the property. Kirk itself cannot provide any assurances that the building/property will continue to exist in its current form. As such, it would be foolish for neighboring property owners to base development decisions on a presumption that Kirk will supply their bathroom. Additionally, the lack of running water and sewer facilities at 125 East Crawford Street creates an obvious problem for activities normally associated with the operation of a cafe, such as food and beverage preparation, cleaning and sanitation, and the proper disposal of liquid waste. To be sure, Kirk is under no obligation to provide water, plumbing, or sewage support or assistance to its neighbors to engage in such activities or operations. The operation of a cat cafe will generate solid waste from cats residing on the premises as well as from the cafe's food and beverage operations. How will this waste be stored and disposed of? Cat feces and urine emit a strong odor that could easily create a public nuisance and/or health problem. There is no obvious area to properly store such waste outside the premises. There is no adjoining alley, and the outdoor area behind the premise is under different ownership and currently occupied by a parking lot, wheelchair ramp, and outdoor seating area for the Bourbon Affair. It would also be inappropriate to store such waste on the sidewalk at the front of the building, and Kirk is concerned the temporary storage of cat and food or beverage waste may attract rodents, pests to the Kirk building. Finally, while limiting the number of cats to 5 is a prudent condition, placing such a limit may be ineffective absent a mechanism to assure monitoring and compliance with the limit. Kirk asked the Commission to insist upon the following conditions of approval of the subject application. Require the application to install an appropriate bathroom facility and kitchen food prep area for the use of owners, guests of 125 East Crawford. Require the applicant to develop an appropriate solution for storage and disposal of animal and food beverage waste in a manner that does not create a health risk, odor, hazard, or nuisance. Require a system of reporting, monitoring, and compliance to assure the number of cats does not exceed the Commission's limit of 5. Application for conditional use, CU 20-2023, 123 East Crawford Street. Similar to the property at 125 East Crawford, the property at 123 East Crawford does not have a bathroom or water and sewage system. Besides serious questions regarding whether 125 East Crawford has any rights to use the Kirk bathroom, this property's bathroom challenge are further complicated because currently its owners cross through the neighbor's property at 123 East Crawford to gain access to a corridor that leads to the Kirk building. Obviously, using the bathroom of your neighbor's neighbor is not a practical arrangement for residents. The only practical solution is for the applicant to build their own bathrooms on their own premises, which appears to be the direction they propose to go. However, Kirk asks that the Commission explicitly require the applicant to install bathrooms on the applicant's premise as a condition of approval of their application. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Mike Harrington, Kirk Building, LLC.
Well read. Thank you. Okay, so,
And just to add to that, I did receive a copy of the access easement. So I don't know if that necessarily plays into our conversation at all, but I do have a submitted copy.
From our standpoint, that's,
For the restroom access,
yeah,
is it a legitimate document? Or,
it appears so, but I mean, to me, it's tricky. That's a civil agreement between two property owners. Generally, the city is not involved in those agreements.
is it in,
Well, and if
is
the
it
owner,
forever, in perpetuity?
It says those words, but
Okay.
I'm not
So,
a lawyer.
again, that sounds like a
I'm
civil
less of a
thing.
lawyer than I am a traffic engineer, I'll tell you that.
Some other people should take that. So I think, as we've discussed, we need to kind of stay in our lane of what this commission's purpose is for these applications. Because it seems like there's other things going on here that really don't fall within our purview, or shouldn't fall in our purview as the city. So I just wanted to kind of say that to complement what you said. So, should we invite, sorry, I'm not on. Should we invite
we should. Yeah.
someone up to talk about this?
So I want to frame it a little bit. From a zoning standpoint, land use, we're thinking of parking, appropriateness, downtown area. We're looking at the kind of the little bigger picture. From that standpoint, staff doesn't really have any concerns. This is
Right.
personal opinion, pretty cool project. From a professional zoning standpoint, I look at it as a cafe. Cafes are very appropriate in downtown. No concerns there. So I guess the top items of conversation zoning wise for me is really we want to put some conditions in that that this does not go from a cafe to a kennel facility. You know, because that's a different land use, that's a different category, and that's not permitted in downtown. And so we were just concerned of a situation, you know, a year into business, and they're like, well, we're not selling much coffee, but I get 10 phone calls a day to kennel my cat, and just wanted to be clear that the kennel, you know, bringing in other people's cats to kennel while they're on vacation is not a permitted use. So I wanted to frame that conversation, you know, discussion of kenneling, discussion of number of cats, I think is kind of our purview. Food preparation and cats is the health department's purview. And then I think we should talk about the bathroom thing.
Yep. Why don't,
With that, I want to hear about the project.
Good morning.
We're on board now.
Perfect.
great segue, right?
Good morning.
Matt said, just stay in your lane, right? You know.
My name is Lindsay Harris. I'm here with my partner, Cade. We're both Findlay residents. And I do want to specify, we would be looking at purchasing the entirety of the building, both 25 and 23. So we would have both sections of it if we are given the approval to go forward. Given that, what we would like to do is then work with a contractor to make sure that we can get running water to either side of the building. It is naturally split in two, as you all have very well figured out. We want to see what's going to be the best when it comes to both running water for a bathroom and running water for kitchen-based activities to figure out which side the cafe would actually need to go on. The cats would then go on the opposite side. It does naturally have two forms of entry into both sides, so the cats would never actually be interacting with the cafe portion of it. That way it is fully secluded. That way also, if there are individuals who are allergic to cats but want to come in for a coffee, they do not ever have to actually interact with the cats.
Wait a minute. The cats are not in the cafe?
So the way that it is going to be set up is one side would have the actual cafe portion. You can come in, you can get your coffee, you can sit, you can leave, whatever. Or you can come in, get your coffee, go into the cat side, and then hang out with the cats while you have your coffee. The cafe and the cats are one entity, but there is a complete separation, both for health code violations, for the safety of cats. They're mischievous creatures. They're going to get into anything they can. And then also for their benefit as well. If they get overwhelmed, or if there is a time when if we do decide to go through like specific feeding times, or even if cats just need a break and we just need to close it off, it allows for the cafe side to stay open and then the cat side to just have a break. It also allows for us to monitor the amount of people that are interacting with the cats, so that we can have them come in on a rotation if that's what needs to happen, or of course cap it off until a specific time where we have to ask some people to swap out so that others can come back in and interact. Similar to how you would with like an escape room or the axe throwing place. You come for a specific allotted period of time, and then once your time is up, you do have to leave. We do have full intentions of putting in a bathroom. We were also had an idea of how to use it if we did have access to the other side as well, since there is a current agreement, but we weren't hinging on that agreement staying. Both sides have the ability so that you would go through a two-door process to get to the cats. As you all pretty much have seen through the layout, one is a rectangle and one is an L shape. That L shape does have two doors to get into either side, and that would be the pathway they would have to go through to get to the cats and back through, as a way to prevent the cats from going into the cafe on an accident. Similar to how if you went to the zoo and you went into the butterfly exhibit, they have a two-door process to make sure the butterflies don't escape. It's a very similar aspect to that as well. But this would hinge on us. We would plan to gain access to both sides of the building.
So I just want to clarify one point. There was lots of switching sides and I got confused.
Sorry.
So are you still undecided if the Cat Cafe's on this side?
So, no, we would like to purchase the entirety of it.
So when
The
you're saying
cafe
sides, you're
is-
saying sides within the left side.
No, we would purchase both 123 and 125.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Are you set that the right side is the apartment and the left side is the Cat Cafe, or you're still working that out?
So we're a different group.
Okay, okay, you're not
No,
part
we are
of
not the
this.
apartment.
Okay.
No. Yes. That
Okay.
probably helps
Now I'm
clear up some
confused.
clarification.
What?
I was following you
You're saying
because
you're buying the whole property.
this is
I'm-
125 and 123 are both of these, but the layout here is,
Is one,
The-
yeah, it looks like it's one combined entity. When we viewed the property, we were under the impression it was one entity. We were not aware that it was two separate entities, frankly, until we walked in today.
All right, so what we're talking about?
We're talking
just
about the
left
left.
side.
I know, we would purchase, well, we're on the docket
the
as the left.
approval-
Correct.
we're talking about with the Cat Cafe is that left portion that he's highlighting right now.
Correct.
Okay, so
We
let's not
want-
talk about the apartment right now at all.
Didn't you put in for 123 though? Yeah, we wanted both 123 and 125 when we put in for today. I don't fully know what happened when it went through, but we were looking at both 123 and 125 as one whole entity.
But you don't have a layout for 123, right?
No, so, all right. So what we're
Yeah.
talking, the agenda item number 2 is conditional use for U2 for the Cat Cafe at 125 East Crawford, which is
The small section.
the small section on this floor plan that
Correct.
doesn't include the layout of the apartment.
Correct.
Then
We-
agenda item number 3 is a submission for an application, conditional use by David Brennan to convert 123 to an apartment.
Correct.
So they're completely different agenda items.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure what we're talking about
Sure.
and who's talking about what.
So
Sorry, I'm
along
not
those
trying to make it
lines, so
complicated.
are these two separate buildings?
One parcel, 2 addresses.
Okay.
One parcel, 2
and
One
who's-
parcel. What does that mean, one parcel?
represent DJ Brennan, that's who Breck Eisinger.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're a separate entity, also interested in the same property for a different purpose.
The entire building is for sale, it just happens to have 2 addresses.
Understand that. It sounds.
Jeremy, you want to help?
Yeah, so since we got both entities here for the next 2 agenda items, can we get a clarification on, because it sounds like there's a lot of confusing on who wants to buy the whole building, who wants to buy this and that. Are you guys intentions just to buy that one section, that one address, or you guys want to buy the whole building as well?
So DJ Brennan has intentions of purchasing the entire building. His main interest is in the apartment side, I will call it.
Right.
Yeah, I guess
Apartment side.
the non-commercial storefront looking side of the building. But his intention was to purchase the building as a whole.
And you guys want to purchase the whole building as a whole.
Correct.
So,
Same idea, we just put down different addresses.
Okay, so,
well, I'm just saying, so we got 2 entities that both, Group A, I'm going to say Group A, Group B. Group A wants to buy the whole building, Group B wants to buy the whole building. But we got 2 different agenda items with 2 different addresses that are for the same building. So before, it's going to be tough to make decisions on what to do with until we know who actually is owning the
And
building.
they
'cause
probably don't
they
wanna-
both have the same idea on the whole property.
Clarify some further, our change of use is only for one half of the building, the other half would stay commercial. So our application, change of use is
Yeah, but
accurately described on the address of the half that we're here for.
has,
I don't know that. I don't know if.
Hey, hold on. We're gonna have to, everybody's gonna have to talk in the
Yeah.
mic for
Yeah.
purposes.
sorry, yeah, we're going to have people come, because this is recorded and streamed, so, sorry.
Do you want to finish this item and then?
I have one more, yeah, real quick, one more question. So when we receive an application, the owner generally has to agree that the application's going forward. So I guess my question is, with the applications, is the owner okay with both these applications moving forward?
So I'm the listing agent.
Yeah.
Can you, I'm sorry. I know it's going to be inconvenient. We're going to play circus at the mic, but I need you guys to talk in the mic and introduce yourself for recording purposes, please.
Hi, I'm Sammy Flegel. I'm the listing agent for the proposed property here. I guess I'm representing the seller in this situation. He has no objection to the intended use of either party. Just kind of here to see what the outcome is. So.
Okay.
Okay.
But no
And-
offer's been accepted or
Correct.
or
No
anything?
offer. I think that's kind of why everybody's here, to see if their intended use would be accepted before they submit an offer. So obviously, I'm all for
my
both.
next question of, based on the approvals of this commission, would be the determining factor if you're going to proceed with purchase it or not. Fair. Okay.
That I think, yeah, that's the clarification we needed, because it was confusing on, wait, did you guys buy already, not buy? So knowing that both of these are, so you gotta look at them separate on that.
Completely.
It is one parcel though. I did talk to Jacob previously, and he indicated it could easily be split into two parcels. It already has two addresses.
I think
so-
it has to be because you're gonna have two different zonings. You're gonna have one commercial, one residential, right? I mean,
Depending on the use.
It's all C3 zoning.
Oh,
no.
no. The recommendation is conditional use, not the change to zoning.
Right.
Okay.
The second, the third,
sorry.
the apartment,
Okay, all
sorry.
right, so everything's C3. Okay, all right.
So I think, and
Well, the easy answer would be we should just table it and let them come, whoever buys it, but that's not,
No,
that's the cart before the
I want-
horse.
I would like them to leave with an understanding of what they can do with the property.
Okay.
All right.
I think we hear both cases and, give our approvals, and then the transactions will play out however they play out.
Okay.
That was messy to get there. Okay. All right, so I'm sorry.
Well, let's stay with the cat side.
Okay.
I guess my first question is, what's the maximum number of cats that you would anticipate and you'd be comfortable with?
So there are similar facilities of similar size that have, on average, 18. Depending on the side that we are best approved for. If it's the smaller side, we'd be looking at max 7. If it's the larger side, we'd be looking at max 10. These cats would
Wait a minute,
hopefully.
excuse me.
Yes.
When you say larger side inside, are you considering buying the apartment side?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole building.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then trying to see what the contractor said is going to be the most adequate side to have running water for a kitchen. And that would be the deciding factor on which side houses the cafe prominently and which side houses the cats prominently.
So we're using this layout,
Yeah, and that has
and it has nothing to
No,
do with
so-
this. Do you have a proposed layout or anything that we can, or is that?
I don't know that the
Presumptuous.
layout matters too much.
Okay.
I mean, that's more building code,
Okay.
room layout, bathrooms, that's Wood Building Code, Wood County.
Okay.
So, I'm looking at this as,
So I don't think we care once what it.
No, I don't care
So,
what-
so it really comes down to making sure this cafe doesn't turn into a kennel. I think that's really.
that's priority number one.
That's priority one. Okay,
You know,
so let's start there.
That's,
All right.
yes. So I think one of the conditions of approval is that, this cannot be used as a kennel, a commercial kennel,
Okay.
which essentially means housing other people's
is.
cats.
Okay, so what got confusing is we're saying, okay, 5 on this side and 18 on that side.
Sure.
So we can't, so limiting the number, I guess we need to know what side we're talking about.
And that right now, we're just trying to figure out if this would even be an approved process. This is
Yeah.
step one in us planning this all out. We just need
Okay.
to know if the city would be okay with the idea in the first place before we actually go through with all the formalities of working
Would
with
this
a
come back
contractor.
to us then? We can
Yes.
put a number later?
With the
If
site
you
approval.
table it, You can say, you can lean them towards, or if you guys feel like you approve this condition, no use, you could table it. That way they're knowing that whenever they come back, they can decide what side that it's going to go on, instead of them spending $250 again to get back on this agenda.
We review projects all the time, conditional, where they have a sale conditional upon our decision. So the sale is out the door for my mind.
Okay.
We're looking at if they do this. So they said 7 on the left side, or east side, 10 on the west side. In my mind, when they said those numbers, that seemed reasonable. I do want to have a discussion about the neighbor's concern about waste and storage, because I do want to have that conversation. But when I heard the number 7 on one side or 10 on the other, I felt comfortable with that. But I think a condition is it's one or the other. It's not 7 plus 10 equals 17.
Correct.
Yeah. One of the things would be the access. They would not have, you would have access from the Crawford Street only, nothing to the backside parking lot, since that's a different owner.
Correct.
That
That's the
would be
intention.
my thinking, at least. So you'd have no space where you'd have an opportunity for trash receptacle or supplies, deliveries, anything other than the front door. Could they build a trash enclosure inside the building?
Well, it's current.
So, this building has operated for 100 to at least the last 30 years under this circumstance.
Right.
Now, the back patio is actually new. That's about 7 or 8 years old. So, in some ways, pain management was there. They generated trash. They made it work. So, in some ways, but my guess is that it's curbside service is the only really option, and that on a Friday you have to put out, or whatever day you have to haul your thing out. To your point, it would be nice if that trash can, I think a condition would be that trash can be stored inside during the week and only out for trash pickup day.
Okay.
And which, for your information, would need to be a vented space to where you're not creating noxious fumes inside the building anywhere. So it would have to be some sort of an enclosure.
That would be health department, right?
Yeah.
That would be under their purview.
I think I think we can put the condition on storing. We definitely can put a condition on storing the trash
Not in front of the building.
It's inside.
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 That's fine.
So I think
So back to the, are you done with that one?
Yep.
Back to the kennel. So who owns these cats?
The hope would be we can work with one of the local rescues or the Humane Society. So they
Okay.
would be owned by them. We would not be accepting outside cats, not ones that you caught in your yard because they were strays, not ones that you're
Right.
wanting to give up. It would be ones through them. That way we are working with their veterinary services and we are going through their adoption policies. We're just being that other additional marketing agent to get these animals adopted.
Okay.
And then we would work with them to quote unquote restock once one has been adopted successfully. So at no point would it be a boarding facility. No one would be allowed to bring in their outside animals.
So they'd stay overnight?
Correct.
Okay, they're there full-time. And how many days a week would this be open?
The plan would be to keep it open 6 days a week. Currently thinking that Monday would be the day that we close so that it's at least being deep cleaned once a week on the cat portion. Obviously doing daily cleanings every single day. And then of course that deep clean aspect as well. And then also just to give animals and staff a break. We would have someone on staff to take care of the animals 7 days a week. But they just would not be open to the general public 7 days a week. and the
these
hours
cats
would be
ever-
to work late.
Are these cats like ever outside? You take cats for a walk? No. Okay, so they're not out on the sidewalk.
Have
and
you
they're
tried to
not-
take the cat for a walk?
I was
I
gonna
don't
say.
know. I'm not a cat guy, so I
I
don't
did when
know.
I was a kid, and it didn't work out.
It didn't work out. All right.
Cats
So
tend to
they're-
not like collars or harnesses.
Okay, so they're not outside.
No.
My biggest concern in this whole thing is making sure that you have running water, toilet, sanitary and water in this building if it's going to be used, and not be reliant or dependent on someone else. And I think the health department will drive that. So,
Wood County will drive that also.
it's not us driving it. I just want to, that's my biggest hangup with this project.
And that's, I've been putting thought into this over the last week and day, and we could put a condition, for both applicants that that they connect to water and sewer, that they install, we could, at the same time, I don't want to be overly cumbersome, but I'm also sensitive to the concerns of the neighbor, I think ideally, I think the best solution is that this property ceases to share bathrooms. When this was an office, that may have, 5 people in an office, and it's the same people every day, and it's hey Bob, but retail, a retail establishment is a different animal altogether.
Agreed. And residential even further.
Well, the the plans we've seen, I've seen a bathroom.
Correct.
So, for the residential, but it's a little bit of wild card on the retail. So, in some ways, I think I'm leaning towards a condition that the restrooms be provided on site for that facility, even without knowing what Wood County requires.
Wood County will require a men and women's restroom.
But Wood County has been working with this situation. Pain management went in,
Yeah.
Wood County didn't say you can't share the restroom.
Be okay with that condition.
So, well, restrooms, well, if it's a cafe, it's restrooms and kitchen, or,
The health department would dictate that, wouldn't they? The health code standards?
I guess my concern is I don't know that they will require the bathrooms be in this. I don't know how they work. That Wood County and the health department will probably, I'm sure, have a requirement that you have to have restrooms, and they say, well, we have this access agreement, and here are the restrooms.
I got you.
Yeah.
So the condition, we should put a condition that they are in this, they are added to water and sanitary services are
for a restroom.
for 125 East Crawford, added to.
Is it
I'm
water
leaning
and
that way.
Water and sewer for a restroom specifically, right? Water
Sure.
and sewer for a restroom.
Sure.
And I want to ask the construction guys their thoughts on that, but I don't.
That's next.
And obviously, we should be very consistent between both applicants interested in the same building.
And I would like to preface, we're just looking to make sure that just even the concept of a cat cafe is something that we would be able to be green lighted on. It doesn't necessarily hinge on this location, but the city giving us the go ahead and saying that this location is potentially going to be approved would be that next step of us, or would give us that ability to take the next step to work with a contractor to make sure that we have the correct type of plumbing and running water, and working with the sanitation department to make sure we do follow all those codes as well. This is just step one for us before we fully dive in and exacerbate, nope, that's not how you say it, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. All the options for this building specifically, before we throw in the towel and say, not this place, we got to go somewhere else, or before we put it, all our ducks in a row just to find out that the city was never going to approve it in the first place.
So to that point, this is zoned C3, a downtown commercial. And that's pretty much all the downtown. So if at this site or across the street or wherever in downtown, from a staff standpoint, our recommendation would be to approve. And then our main condition would be number of cats and kennel.
And that we will definitely be flexible on.
I can't speak for those, but the staff recommendation would be to approve. I view it as a cafe, just with a little more interest, but it acts as a cafe, and that's our concern.
Have you had discussions with the health department on this as to whether they would permit it?
No, we have not yet. We are working with other cat cafes that have been established in other cities throughout the state of Ohio, to see how their process went. And they went through a very similar process that we're currently going through to make sure that the city at first would make sure it's okay. And then the health department was their next step to kind of eliminate certain properties, and going forward from there.
We looked at Bowling Greens, and Bowling Greens, from what we looked at, the layout is very similar to what they discussed. An eating area, an interaction area. And obviously it got approved, and they're in Bowling Green and Columbus and Cincinnati. So it's they have a little extra challenge, but it's definitely doable.
From a cafe standpoint, are you looking at just drinks and light fare, or are you looking at lunches, or what's your goals there?
So currently the goal is drinks and light fare. Hopefully in the future, we would like to see if we could get a basic liquor license as well to offer basic cocktails. So it's another quiet place to just sit and relax. But no actual meals. The way that this building is currently set up, I do not think it's entirely beneficial to have an oven in there. So it would be more things that we would hopefully outsource from like the baking cafes around town. That way we can support other small businesses as well by putting their products on displays and selling them at our establishment.
Hey, Jeremy, is there why isn't there water and sewer in this building? Is it difficult to get water and sewer to this building?
It's possible to do. I mean, all we gotta do is set a meter. They're gonna have to run a line out, so it's not that it can't be done.
Go out to Crawford, out to the front to Crawford, or to the back?
It would probably, I would have to see where the line would, it'd probably be out to Crawford, right? Because there's a line out there. But if this was all owned by one person, or, at one point, we have situations where people will share sanitary laterals and stuff like that, and they have agreements for that kind of stuff. So it's not out of the norm that we've seen this. But since this is kind of splitting off owner billing purposes, it'd be tough to bill someone for water sanitary, because if it's all on one, then who do we bill for everyone's service? How do you say, you paid this much, that? But from our side, getting a meter and stuff set out there, it wouldn't be difficult to do.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone here to speak against this? Make sure we're offering that opportunity. Okay. You had more to say.
No, I was just trying to get my arms around our recommendation, or our conditions.
So I have, the recommendation was CPC was going to recommend this as a conditional use. And then I have additional trash receptacles stored on the inside. And then based on the east building being used, the east portion of this, 7 cats is not to exceed 7 cats.
So they had 5 in the,
I thought we had a further
We put a number down as a understanding it was a starting point.
Okay.
With the discussion with the.
But you're okay with 7?
It's really for us.
It's really, yeah, it's for you to decide.
All right.
I had, from that discussion we had earlier, 7, not to exceed 7 on the east portion of the building, or 10 on the west building, and that's not to add them together. It's either or, based on where they put the cafe.
Okay.
No kenneling, and then water and sewer services added to this building for restrooms. Did I miss anything? Discussion around those.
I think
Do we
That's a
want,
motion, I'll second it.
on the last part, the water and sewer to be connected to the building, and for each unit to provide their own restrooms?
Yeah.
Do you have something to say about that input on? I just want to make sure from an engineering perspective, you deal with the water lines and sanitary more than anyone.
I mean, really, from engineering side, it would be beneficial to have the water separated. But really, like I said, people have shared laterals. If they have an agreement and it's a documented agreement on that, from my standpoint, as long as we can bill for the water, we're going to bill the sewer with that. So as long as it gets flushed appropriately.
Wouldn't you just have one tap coming off the main and go into the building?
Yeah, and then there'd be
split?
2 meters. There would be a meter for each section. So that wouldn't be difficult. But like, if there's a new bathroom or not, and from our standpoint, that's kind of a private side. As long as we can bill for the meter, that's our biggest concern.
Okay.
If I may, because I want to be very consistent with the conditions that we give to both parties today, and I'd hate for the next applicant to come up and give a very good reason why one of the recommendations we made is very bad, and then we have to come back and try to equalize it. So, you guys,
You guys are not allowed to kennel cats.
you guys, the condition of the bathroom for each unit and connecting to the city, connecting to the water with your own meter, does that set off any alarm bells for you guys?
Are you gonna make us clarify their case?
No.
Bottom line, the way that our understanding is the way that the water connections would be, or the easiest access would actually be attaching or using the existing structure in the Kirk building. So it'd be easy to get the facilities into the bathroom facilities into the new structure if we were allowed to use the plumbing that's in the Kirk building. I don't know if that's achievable yet. We haven't went down that road. I understand.
I don't think so.
How are you gonna build that?
Well, I mean, it's possible to do. I mean, we have that where there's multiple tenants in there. We just got to make sure we set meters for that. The biggest thing is you guys would have to have a document that says that you guys have permission to use their water line, because if you're using that water line, they could shut it off, and if you don't have agreement, then you guys are out of water. So if there's a document saying that, we would still place the meters. I mean, it'd be acting like a main line, but it's a private main line. We would just have to be able to track those.
So from a construction standpoint, I guess, from our understanding thus far, that's the easiest option. To say that we can't get our own water line, anything can be done, but the gentleman we're representing obviously does not own the building yet, so we have not went down that avenue. But
I could add a lot more if you want me to.
Well,
Hey, Scott, can you, or whoever, if you're going to talk, come up to the mic.
You guys done on that?
no, not yet.
No.
Just
Sorry.
from my standpoint, sharing bathrooms for 2 buildings is less than ideal. But I don't want to I don't want to recommend something that's unreasonable. To me, the best solution is everyone has their own bathrooms,
Right.
and we
Right.
move forward.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Let's make that a condition.
Hey, one other thing before you guys make a decision. This pertains to both cases. This is located within the 100-year floodplain. So there is a substantial improvement that dollar-wise that we got to look at, and that could determine a lot of cost issues to where if it exceeds 50% of the cost of the building, the improvements, the property has to be flood-proofed. So that could be with this case. It doesn't have it's just on a slab, I'm guessing. Concrete floor would have to be poured in.
Okay.
That's an important point. For them, not for us,
Does that-
but for them.
For them,
For
okay,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know, you guys understand that? Okay. All right.
Eric, I'm sorry, you say a concrete slab would need to be poured?
Possibly.
I
It's all
thought that
based
was
on the
already
base flood
concrete, but
elevation.
maybe not.
Yeah, I know Findlay Brewing, whenever they did their improvements, they would pour about 7 inches of concrete to bring that floor above base flood elevation. So
Yeah, he's meaning elevation wise. It's probably concrete now. It's just it would have to be a certain elevation.
Okay.
Okay. Good point. Glad it was brought up. Thanks, Eric. But again,
Can I ask, what do you have down for this condition on the restrooms? Could you read what you have on this condition?
That water and sewer is connected to the building and that each unit provide restroom facility.
Okay.
Each building, meaning each section. 'Cause
Each
it's one-
unit within the building.
Yeah, each unit.
All right.
okay. Anything else
So we have-
for discussion?
A motion and a
Anything else to
second.
add? Okay. You guys are never going to let me chair one of these again. It's been,
No, it's been hard. All right, I think we're ready to vote.
I'm sorry. Did
We have a
was it-
motion
Who
and a
motioned? Did
he motioned.
Dan motion?
You.
Oh, I read
you-
the so
you-
I
you
did. He
motioned,
seconded.
And I second.
And then he's. Dan. Okay. Ms. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Mr. Martin.
Aye.
And Mr. Diarmid.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck. All right, moving on to item number 3, application for conditional use CU 20-2023, filed by David Brennan to convert 123 East Crawford into a residential. CPC staff comments.
Okay, so to spare you from hearing this again, this is the exact same building we were just talking about. The applicant would like to convert this property into a 3-bedroom living unit. The site has had some difficulties in the past due to the lack of bathroom. And we've discussed that they use a corridor at the rear of the building that connects to the Kirk building to the east for a restroom. The conversion to residential would add bathrooms back to the side of the building, and you can see that on the floor plan that was submitted. In the C3 downtown commercial district, residential is conditional use. On Main Street and Main Cross Street, first floor residential is strictly prohibited, while East Crawford Street is not included in that. Staff notes that this street is at the heart of downtown Findlay. The space, however, is small, is a small 3,750 square foot, 1-story building, and so its impact to the commercial core would be limited. So our staff recommendation had been to approve the application for conditional use CU-20-2023 filed by David Brennan to convert 123 East Crawford into residential.
Engineering.
And the city will work with any applicant or purchase owner of this property to ensure that water is properly accounted for what their intended use is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that legal enough?
I love that.
Fire prevention had no comment. So, again, the recommendation was stated as Jacob did. Would you like to come up and have a conversation about this?
Is there more information we need to know, or are we good?
Scott Breckeisen, Metzger Breckeisen Company.
And Brandon Metzger, Metzger Breckeisen Company.
I guess to start with, as far as keeping things fair to both parties, we were instructed to have a schematic design when we submitted our application. So our customer has spent money on something that seems to have not been needed for the application, I guess. So I feel as if we're misled a little bit. So I'd just like that to be on the record. There is water to the building from the Kirk building. It supplies a hydronic heating system on the west half of the building where the tenant space is. Our ideal situation would be to hook up to the water and sewer from the Kirk building. Just from a cost standpoint would be the most economical, but to then add bathrooms for the space. I would recommend the Kirk building also tread lightly, as The corridor in the back is also their ADA accessibility to their building. So if they eliminate their easement for water and sewer and bathroom use, they also eliminate their ADA compliance to the building. So, to their building, I should say.
I'm sorry, where is this ADA compliant? What do
You
you
can
call
see it
it?
on Google Map.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's back by the patio for Bourbon Affair.
This thing doesn't work. There it is.
Number of bathrooms you guys discussed earlier would be dependent on the type of use of the commercial space. So Wood County will determine that based on the use and occupancy and if it's an assembly space, et cetera. So, but yeah, there's a wood ramp that comes from the parking lot in the rear there that comes up, and the easement allows access into the Kirk building. So.
Okay.
So you've got a cross easement there where the Kirk building allows tenants to use restrooms, and this building that we're talking about has an easement that allows them to have ADA access.
The parcel we're accessing or working on, I guess I should say, has a crawl space that would allow for plumbing to run underground in that crawl space area. And I believe, I haven't personally read it, but I believe that the verbiage says that there can be underground access to the Kirk building with that easement. I don't know that easement's the right word, personal property agreement, whatever you want to call it, for the bathroom usage.
Yeah, it's
So,
shared access agreement,
Yeah.
easement.
I believe it says something along the lines of, underground access, which would allow us to get to the basement of the Kirk building, run plumbing through. On raising the floor for the flood, the east side of the building is, I believe, up above that floodplain, and it is a concrete floor with a crawl space that then also has a concrete floor. It's kind of a unique situation. The pain management building has a concrete slab that's at sidewalk level, but the rest of the space is already raised with a wood floor up about maybe 4 feet above that concrete floor. Eric, I don't know if that qualifies.
Yeah, we'd just have a surveyor run a elevation certificate
Okay.
for the property and determine that.
So that common area on the top left corner of this,
Yep,
that is technically part of this building, right?
correct.
Okay. the
And
proper-
that's how the Kirk building gains their access
Okay.
for ADA compliance.
Okay. So I know we're talking about the conditional use for the residential, but full disclosure, you are, the intent of the man you're representing, the individual you're representing, they want to buy the other part as well. Any
So
thoughts
So
on?
the I'll call it the left side of the screen
Yeah.
would stay intended for commercial. If
Okay.
you look at the front elevation of the building, it's honestly laid out that way anyway. The left side lends itself to a commercial storefront.
Has glass. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Your sketch, your floor plan sketch shows storefront type windows in the front of the pain management building too, but versus, what's currently there. Are you looking at changing that?
Are you able to pull the sketch up again, I guess? Yeah, that, maybe they do show that.
That's pretty
As my understanding currently, we do not have intentions of altering the front elevation of the building.
The pain
So,
management side.
Yeah, so, providing the floor plan, architects do what architects do. Sorry if we have any in here, but, they took it and upon.
Those
themselves to add
architects.
windows, so.
So, and thanks for all the information, very helpful. So like the number of cats was kind of our zoning concern with the last one. The question of first floor residential,
Yeah.
taking up space in our downtown was really my only zoning question that I went through. And, it is in the heart of downtown, but it's a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit. And what really kind of persuaded me that the residential would be appropriate is what you see now is the storefront, the architecture of the building. You know, if this was a big storefront, you know, either a conversion would need to be made, but this kind of looks like a residential entrance.
I never liked that entrance.
So, from a staff standpoint, upon looking at all the criteria and looking at the code, we don't really have any concerns with the left side should stay commercial, retail, office, et cetera. That's kind of our 2 cents on the project. Don't really have any concerns with the proposed.
And you would maintain that exit or egress out of the common area on the back side of the building, right? So you have more than one
Correct.
access point for safety? Okay.
With the 3-bedroom unit, what are your plans for parking?
That's a good point.
I don't know that we've gotten that far yet.
Yeah.
He doesn't own the building. We're seeing if we're able to make the change, considering it's not zoned for residential right now.
Yeah.
I think to elaborate on that a little bit, there's a parking garage across the street.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm sure Mike would be happy to rent some spaces.
Yeah, I'm sure too.
Yeah, in downtown, there's no requirement.
Right.
And they're going into it knowing that one of the trade-offs will be parking will be a little more challenging than a
Yeah, one of
suburban
the
home.
questions that kind of came to my mind as I was looking at this also is that it's a 3-bedroom unit, which means that you've got small kids or whatnot. You're right in the middle of the bar area of East Crawford Street. I was questioning in my mind, does the owner have the intention of renting this out as an Airbnb?
So he does not, and I guess to speak to that, his kids are 22 and up. So the owner primary residence is actually a residence in, I believe it's Dublin or Columbus area. So he's a business owner. He's actually moved some of his business here to Findlay, and so he's invested in Findlay and looking for a nice place for him and his family to stay while he's in town. So that small kids around the bar area would be a concern for this situation.
And that could change a day after it's.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
residential, is it appropriate or not?
How do we feel about the parking? So if we had 3 cars permanently parked on the diagonal, taking up space on
Well, they'll get
Crawford.
tickets.
It wouldn't
They'll
be,
get
they'd
tickets.
get ticketed.
Why?
It's 2-hour parking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's public parking.
And after 3, you get the wheel locks on, so they will need to
I'm
find,
probably close to getting 3.
they will need to, to me, the parking garage is the perfect scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rent out a spot.
Okay, that
And they're
works.
good.
That works. Okay. All right, so it
This,
sounds like
this space makes sense. I like the layout of it. I like what they've done.
Yep.
We're not setting, will this have to come back here for site plan approval?
Yeah.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
So I think we have 2 conditions: trash cans stored inside, and unit must have water and sewer and restrooms.
Yeah, I think those
Those are the-
conditions have to be consistent.
Those 2 are. You good with those then?
Anything else you want to add or concerns,
I
questions?
guess on the water, you're just saying it needs to have its own facility. Where the water and sewer
Yeah,
comes
we
or goes, you don't care.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
as long as you get a meter, like.
That's his concern.
Just work with us on that.
No problem.
Jeremy, how does that work if there's a repair that's needed, say, somewhere down the line?
That would be part of their easement agreement on who is paying for that. If it's shared cost, if it's where it's at in the line, that's all part of theirs.
Okay.
We would see that as a private main line, and we would just have meters from that.
We're responsible for once the main line, the lateral to the house or the property, that's the property
Yeah,
owners.
we'll just be really maintaining the meters, so that will be all part of their agreement is who pays for the repairs if there is a repair.
Yep.
Would, okay, even though the Kirk building is probably going to change hands, The agreement then would not, if the repair needed to be done in that building, and he didn't want to make the repair, he could shut the others off, but is the agreement going to be legal and forcible that those repairs get done?
That would be all
That's
part
not
of
our
that.
issue.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
That's the
Let's
civil
move on.
issue.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
so
all
there's
there
my
is.
motion. You got my
Okay.
we got two conditions, right?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
And just to clarify, if they put retail or an office or whatever, we're requesting that both sides have restroom facilities.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that the condition for both parties then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both
Right.
units have to have restrooms?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
separate restrooms,
Okay.
right?
Now, the mayor has been very adamant in reminding people that when it's a conditional use, if there are any issues, that use can be pulled
It
from.
can be revoked.
Be revoked, yes.
Yep, good, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay,
Okay,
there's my
Jacob.
condition, or there's my motion.
So, all right,
Oh, that's right, you said, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're
All
good.
right.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Jarmut,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder.
Aye.
All right, thank you all for walking through that exercise. Good luck.
Good luck. Now y'all play nice.
All right, the final agenda item, and you're looking at me like I need to say something else, or no?
All right, good luck.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
we got, bathrooms at Parks. All right.
Dan's last meeting.
I know, that's it.
Oh, sorry, well, I knew that. I was gonna bring that up at the end.
Okay, I just
but-
wanted to make sure we
Yeah, no,
tried to
sorry.
mouth it, but I was just like, well, I just
That's
have to say
why
it.
I hate trying to read faces, so. Okay, number 5 agenda item, application for special review, SR 01-2023, filed by the city of Findlay for new restroom facilities at Swale Park and Rawson Park. CPC staff comments.
All right, so the city of Findlay is proposing an upgrade to the bathroom facilities at Swale Park and Rawson Park. The Rawson Park bathroom would be located on the west side of Broad Avenue, just north of River Road. This would be a small family bathroom. For Swale Park, they're proposing 3 different bathroom sites. One is a renovation of an existing bathroom nearby the baseball fields. They're proposing a second facility nearby that group of 4 baseball diamonds, which would be a small family bathroom. And they also have a third bathroom proposed on the east side of the park by the parking lot. All the bathroom facilities fit the Parks and Open Space District and are well inside the parks, limiting their impact to the neighboring neighborhood.
Jeremy, you want to add any color to this?
No, this was all through a CDBG grant. They're paying for 100% of it. Right now, we're only going to be putting 1 at Swale and 1 at Rawson, just because of what the estimates were coming in right now. Cost of material is high, as everyone knows. So the one, you get that pointer, Matt? Or, yeah. So for Swale, right now, we have bid this one out, and we have this one and this one as an alternate. Why we put that there is because that's going to be a trailhead. That's kind of a trailhead feature. But then we can keep this restroom facility up and rolling while we're in construction, and then we'll have one on both sides to kind of facilitate all that. This one we kind of chose to put over there just because this ball field does get used during the summer quite a bit to have a family restroom. But like what Jacob was saying, it really isn't too much impact on any of the parks or anything like that. But water and sewer hookups, we're able to get all that kind of stuff. But we wanted to bring it to you guys just for its review, show what we're doing, make sure that we as a city are following our own standards as well.
Are there sinks to wash hands and that kind of, because I couldn't tell from the.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
So we have storage areas too, where and not in all of these, but we'll have storage areas that may have a mop sink and all that kind of stuff. But
I mean, like hand washing.
oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So all these
Inside.
pictures, this was through a COVID initiative, and all our fixtures have to be touchless fixtures. So it'll have hand wash, it'll have hand blow dryers and all that kind of stuff. down
Water
there.
fountains will be.
Water,
hand-
yeah,
the
outdoor
hands-free.
water fountains with the water bottle filling stations. This will actually have an outdoor seating area as well. That's not on all of them. We just did over here due to the park, or due to the play set being right there. But yeah, this will be full restroom facilities and so it'll have a men's, women's, and a family one as well.
So when do we shut restrooms down here? I mean, it seems like November 1.
Well,
Is that true or not?
it depends on the weather, but it's usually at the end of October, beginning of November, but
Okay.
it is weather dependent.
Okay.
On freezing lines, so they'll flush and turn
Okay.
the water off.
And then do they open it, are they unlocked at night or are they
No.
locked every day? And
They are secured.
Yeah, so during the night they're secure, but we have this set up for security lights and security cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious more like what's our city policy? So does the police actually go out and lock these at night or how does that work? I mean, who is a part?
I don't think so. During when they're open for operation, they're supposed to be closed, but we don't go through and lock every single door. But that's what the security cameras are for. Graffiti was one of the big components of this too. So we have the materials we chose for this is going to be easily cleanable due to that kind of stuff. But the security cameras in past, I mean, they're not 100% perfect, but they have helped deter a lot of that problem.
And traditionally, our parks are open only from dusk to dawn, or dawn to dusk.
Okay.
But ball diamonds like this, you could have a tournament running because they have lights
And
and.
then, but after hours, is it the police officers that lock them or Parks and Rec people?
Honestly, I don't believe we lock the doors.
Oh, they don't even-
after-
Yeah, they're not.
They're just
They're not locked. They're just not supposed to be used. But police does. They do patrol that area. And this is street department right here. So at least that one, street department will be seen most of the time. And the locations of where we chose that is, especially Ralston, we made sure we put it where it is an easily visible type thing.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Jeremy, this building and then the one at Rawson, are you refurbishing the existing buildings or are these tear down?
So this one and Ralston is a tear down. Yep, that will be a completely new within the same footprint, or it's going to be a little bit bigger, but same location. Yeah.
Anything else for the
We
good
need
of
a
the order?
motion and do we want to approve this or?
No.
If you want, I don't think.
I'll move
but
to approve.
Yeah, second. You wanna
Move
wait
to
for Dan
proceed.
come back?
Aye. Done.
So, for the record, this is Dan DeArmont's last planning commission meeting on the commission, so I don't know how many years you've been on it, but
8. 2015.
That surprises me.
I know.
I'm like, Dan, you're still the new guy.
I know. I know. These guys started before I did.
That means I've been out here longer than 8 years.
I know. It's like, yeah.
thank you for your input and direction and things,
Thank
so.
you. I've learned a lot. This has been, according to Eric, it's been the greatest 8 years of my life.
Oh, wait, the best is yet to come, because then you have council coming, so good luck with
No,
that.
I've learned a lot. I mean, I would never have been on city council had it not been for this. I mean, you learn a lot in this process. Just kind of knew who the players are and just Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, that's not something I've ever, so it's been good. So thank you for your patience, right? So,
Well, you've done a great job,
well,
and
thank you.
I do. I talk to developers, and I do brag about you guys. I say, what's it like coming to Findlay? What's the planning commission like? And I tell them, and I mean it. You 5 are the best 5 planning commissioners that I've worked with in like 20 some years.
Yeah, good.
You don't make it every decision that pleases everybody, but you've always come prepared, thoughtful, ask good questions, and make reasonable decisions. So
Yeah.
we appreciate you guys very much, especially for your service.
Well, thank you.
Team effort, so.
So I guess they've selected a replacement. Is there an announcement on that or?
The appointment, was it read into council yet?
I believe so.
I thought it was it last Tuesday?
This Tuesday.
Okay, I've seen a letter prepared. Sorry, meetings run together.
Seen the letter, but couldn't remember where it was.
There is an appointment I believe it's pending, and I don't know if I want to speak
Well,
any
that's
more
okay.
on that, but it's,
Yeah, there's someone pending, and that'll be made official Tuesday.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
let's just leave it at that then.
yeah. And then they will come January,
Yep.
so. All right, anything else for the good of the order?
Need to vote?
All right,
Oh,
Do we have to
Dan,
vote?
Dan wanted to.
Yeah, I
oh,
wanted to talk a
this-
little bit about the processes. Now, obviously, they come to the zoning department to get, after the ones who are here to get their building permit and so forth. But what is the follow-up process? And I'm bringing this up because I get a little frustrated sometimes when I see some of these projects and I think, now wait, we had something here or there. I'm sure we did this and it just seems like we put a lot of time into it, and yet I don't know that there's what the process is of following through. One example that the Terra Nova Medical Building that just got finished has their landscaping in now. There's no evergreens around the building, and I would thought there should be. I know we requested some land.
Where's Terra Nova? What do you, I don't.
That's
off of Bright Road, Fox Run?
Yeah, Fox Run.
Oh, fuck, yeah, okay.
There's no foundation planting on the north side, which I know was requested. And literally, I went out and measured one this morning. The evergreens they have are no more than 12 inches, if that. That's stretching it. And I don't think that's meeting our standards, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's not.
Then what do we do about that?
So,
I mean, they don't come back to the city to get an occupancy permit like they do the Wood County, do they? I mean, you don't have any.
So
Any
I have
follow-up
a certificate of compliance that they'll end up getting from the city, and then they get
okay.
occupancy from Wood County.
Yeah, okay.
So our process is generally probably 3, maybe 4 inspections out of the property. I haven't closed out that permit yet, so they haven't received their certificate of compliance. So what will happen is there will be a footer inspection to make sure their location is okay. Along the time that the building's being built, locations also checked at that point to make sure that they're putting the walls up where they're supposed to. Generally, I'll do a third inspection whenever they get some pavement around, just to make sure that all the parking and all the everything's 10 feet from the right of way, 5 feet from the side, whatever. And then the final inspection happens after they get all the landscaping in, and I hand count pretty much every single bush that's listed on the plan to make sure everything matches up.
Okay, so you
If-
do go out. I wasn't clear
Yeah,
on that.
and if there's an issue at that time, I let Jacob know, and Jacob contacts them and lets them know that they're not meeting all their conditions that were put upon the project.
So,
There wasn't a trash enclosure either on that. And then we had that too.
hypothetically, what he just stated, they're non-compliant, you notify them.
I won't close. Yeah,
How do people typically respond? Are they
it
compliant?
depends on what mood they're in that day. That we get a hold of them,
Depends how nice you are.
but they
I mean, to Dan's point, I mean,
there's been projects that have drawn out 3 years to get completed because of landscaping requirements. Some of the properties up north that were the apartment complex, they had outstanding issues that drug on for 3 years. So
we do have a process to follow up and hold people
what
accountable.
what I would like to refine it some, because when I worked at other cities, I was the commercial planner reviewing plans. And I would go out with the building department. They'd be doing the inside final. I'd be doing the outside final, parking spaces, landscaping, signage, setbacks, all that. If I had an issue with landscaping, we could hold the certificate of occupancy. And that gets direct and quick attention. So, and I've had some discussions.
But we don't issue that occupancy.
No,
Wood
but
County does?
Wood County does check in with us. So, and I want to understand Eric's side of it a little better. But we've had some conversations. I would like, if it's possible, because they check in with us at different aspects of it. It would be great if they called us and said, the building meets the standards, we're going to issue the certificate of occupancy. Do you have any items like landscaping that should hold that they would hold it up for that?
So do they work for us, or
We're contracted with them.
Okay.
The city.
Okay, so they're under contract with the city of Findlay. So does our contract require that?
I don't think so.
It should, right? Does that come up for renewal?
So what I would like to do is, I'd like to sit down with Eric, talk about the process, have a conversation with Wood County, and report back to the board on kind of what we found and because I've been in situations where it works better, and I would like to see if we can get that same type of situation.
Sure, okay.
Because when you hold up the certificate of occupancy for a dumpster enclosure or something, they often appear within 1 or 2 days. At the same time, I think there needs to be some reasonableness. If the materials won't be in for a month, like, we will work with you a little bit.
Right, sure.
But letting them know, like, you didn't meet the site plan standards, and that could hinder your certificate of occupancy. Things move along.
Yeah.
And just to give you an example, Dan, we had that storage units that came through out on Marathon and Speedway Parkway, whatever it is. They weren't meeting requirements that we had you put on place, asphalt, landscaping, whatever. They came back through to get approval from you. So then in the end game, there's always that little safeguard if they can't meet something, they have to come see you again.
Now, on the that one gas distribution facility out there in 224, like across from Shady Grove, whatever. Yeah, Shady Grove. Okay. So they put landscaping in. It's all dead. I mean, there's probably 50 dead arborvitae out there. I mean, it's bad. I mean, what do we do about that? They provided it now, but they didn't water it. So here we go. I mean,
That'll be part of my and Matt's discussion that we can talk about.
In my past experience, that's been more of a phone call with a little less of a hammer because things are going along.
Yeah.
I don't know that the code really has a statement it needs to live for at least a year or something like that.
right.
But that's tough. But in those cases, it's more of a phone call.
Maybe we should start asking these people, what's your watering plan in the first year? I mean, well,
Okay.
anyway.
More to come.
Jacob and I will schedule a meeting with Eric and Jody, and we'll have a conversation. We'll have a conversation with Wood County. My hope is to have somewhat of a report for January, but I could also see a scenario where February is when we report back.
That's fine.
That's fair. It's being talked about, making progress, but good question. So, anything else for the good of the order? All right. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks.
Well, Merry Christmas. We'll see you all. Thank you. There it is. I think that was a good discussion. Seems like it took us a while to get there. Thank you so much.
Stem from both put applications in with different addresses. So I just assumed that they were working.
Well, I'm glad you just
Sleep in.
Some carryover knowledge. Yeah. Have a good Christmas, Jackie.
Good job.
Yeah. Good luck on that.
You're still our MVP right here.
I know.
Great job, Dan.
I think it's sidetracked once in a while. When we're in a tough spot.